All right. Happy Monday. Thank you, everybody, for coming again for Monday Huddle. You can give yourselves a round of applause real quick. Like always, we're going to start off with prayer and scripture, so I'll call our new HBCU graduate to come up and start. Y'all can give her a round of applause.
Hey, everybody. I am Nia, and I will be sharing the verse of the day and leading us in prayer. It comes from Philippians 4, verses 10 through 13 in the New International Version of the Bible. And it says, "I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you were concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. I am not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need, and I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. I can do all this through him who gives me strength." So God, we thank you for being our strength. We are all unfinished works. God, we're imperfect. God, we're weak on our own. But we know, God, that we can do life well and better with you. So we invite you into each of our lives and into this space. I pray that you would have your way during this huddle. I thank you for this space and this opportunity for us to gather and share our thoughts. We all come from different backgrounds, different cultures, different faiths, and we have different ideas, but we look to you, our God of liberation and justice, to help us strategize. And so would you be in our midst? Would there be no chaos, confusion, but would you provide us with order, strategy, and greater ideas for our future? And we thank you. We pray over our leaders, that you would cover them under your blood, and that no hurt, harm, or danger would come near us, those who are on their way, or even as we leave this space. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you so much for that amazing, amazing prayer. Amazing. Next, we have our announcement and action alerts. So I'll call up our founder, Ashley Sharpton up. Give her a round of applause, y'all.
Thank you, Fo. Happy Huddle Monday, everybody. We have to have more energy than that. Happy Huddle Monday, everybody. All right. Thank you. We're happy to have Fo Felividosa back in the building, our National Youth and College Director. Let's clap him up. He's been keeping busy at Morehouse. This is your junior year coming? Going into his senior year. Wow. Time moves fast. Wow. And I'm so happy to see Nia in the house. She graduated from Hampton University. Let's clap her up. That's the real HU, in my opinion. So let me get to the action alerts. And then I have a few announcements, so bear with me, okay? And if you want me to repeat it or print you a copy of anything that I announced, just come to us during dinner. You can come to any of the staff, and we will print you a copy of the flyers, okay? All right. So the action alerts begin with Essence Fest 2023. Reverend Sharpton traveled to New Orleans, Louisiana for the annual 2023 Essence Festival, a.k.a. the Party with a Purpose. Over the course of several days, he co-moderated a panel, spoke at several events, met with the vice president and many celebrities in attendance. On Saturday night, Reverend Sharpton was featured on the AT&T Purpose panel at the Convention Center where 60,000 people were in attendance. He announced National Action Network's upcoming March on Washington. Who can tell me when the March on Washington is, young people? Any of the young people?
Is it August 24th?
You're close. There you go. Let's clap you up. All right, good job. Excellent. Okay, he talked about the ongoing fight to make the private sector accountable to their commitments following the death of George Floyd and racial justice protests. In light of the Supreme Court's recent ruling dismantling affirmative action in higher education, we'll talk about that later, Reverend Sharpton reminded the packed arena while holding the private sector honest when it comes to things like business contracts is more important than ever. Reverend Sharpton attended the Color Purple Luncheon, where he was greeted by Oprah Winfrey herself. He then co-moderated a panel with 5 mayors, one being our mayor, Eric Adams, LA Mayor Karen Bass, Cleveland Mayor Justin Bibb, New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell, and Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens. They discussed problems in urban America, from crime to a lack of funding for a host of programs and initiatives. And that was the Essence Fest, and you can go to nationalnetwork.net for the highlights about what was going on there. But for me, and I attended, it was incredible to hear in real time the Vice President's response to what happened with the Supreme Court, but it was also imperative for me to hear Reverend Sharpton and 4 other civil rights leaders' response from NAACP, Derek Johnson, National Urban League, Mark Moriel, NCNW, and Dr. Arlene, and I believe it's Melanie Campbell from NCNW. It was interesting to hear the various responses, but again, we're going to talk about that in Did You Know segment, but it's just the state of this country and the threat that we are facing is indescribable. And if we don't do something about it, like Rev said on Saturday, it's just only going to get worse. So we just need to galvanize, come together, unify, organize, and figure it out the best way we can. And that leads to our next section. All roads continue to lead to Washington, D.C., as our young sister said, August 26, 2023. Has everybody signed up here? Can I see any amount of hands of people that have signed up to get on the bus to be in Washington, D.C.? All right, that means the people with their hands down need to sign up. You guys need to register. If you have questions, definitely ask them. But definitely, Patrice Perry, raise your hand. We will be leaving here. The bus is leaving here. She is always the lead coordinator. She will definitely make sure you know all the information you need to know to leave from the House of Justice or any bus that will be in New York City. There's also buses that will leaving from the tri-state area, buses leaving from all over the nation. So there is no excuse for you not to get there. We definitely will have the travel covered. Our HBCUs, our young people, we definitely have buses that are covered coming from all over the nation. So we want you to get in touch with us. Contact us. If you don't know how to get there, call here, 1-877-626-4651. Visit nationalactionnetwork.net, and we will get you where you need to go to get to D.C. on the 26th with us. All right, so I'll read the general information. That was my own spill. In less than 2 months, civil rights leaders, activists, clergy, members of the Black, Asian, Jewish, Latino, Native, LGBTQ+, and other communities will all gather in the nation's capital for the March on Washington. National Action Network and the Drum Major Institute have been busy organizing for the 60th anniversary of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s historic march, which won't be a commemoration, but what? A continuation. All right, we're still with us. Okay. Of his fight for freedom, justice, and equality. This year's March on Washington will focus on protecting and preserving voting rights, which are under threat across the nation, criminal justice reform, including police reform and mass incarceration, and calling for federal hate crime legislation amid a rise in such crimes and domestic terrorism. On the heels of recent Supreme Court rulings stripping away affirmative action, as well as protections for the LGBTQ+ community, we must raise our voices in unison at the march. Reverend Sharpton, Martin Luther King III, and Andrea Waters King will lead the continuation march as we evaluate progress achieved and highlight the work that remains. We will convene at 11 a.m. I'm just letting y'all know, at 11 a.m. we will convene, but the pre-march is at 8 a.m. So we will be outside early that day. If we're leaving from here, you usually leave at 4? All right, so just be ready the night before to get you some sleep on the 25th. Or sleep here. Oh, well, I'll leave that to Patrice. The March on Washington will be a cross-cultural and intergenerational demonstration to show that an attack on one is an attack on all of us. Felivi, could you stand real fast? Felivi and Usman are our national leaders. They are leading the youth in college organizing for the march. If you have a young group, if you have a youth-led group, a youth advocacy group, a young professional group, or a college that you know wants to work with us or wants to be a part of this march, connect with Felivi Dosa, right? Everyone clear? Felivi Dosa or Usman Diallo. You can call here, you can reach out online, but ask to speak to our national youth and college directors, please. And make sure that your information is legible. Make sure you leave a number. Make sure you leave an email and exactly who we need to get in touch with so that you can be in touch with us. We don't want anybody to feel like they were left out. We don't want anyone to say we called and tried to reach y'all and nobody responded. We want everybody to be in contact and in communication for this march because it's important, because it's for our futures, but it's for the future of everybody to come. All right? We clear? All right. Thanks, folks. All right. Now, next. Anybody know what Harlem Week is? Anybody know when it is? August what? That was a good one. Okay, good. Thanks, Meg. So Harlem Week starts August 9th, right? August 9th to August 20th. And it started as a week, but we celebrate all month. National Action Network, of course, is a community partner, so we will definitely have a table registering voters, getting our members there, definitely getting members for the march. But because we, of course, the Youth and College Department, we have a direct connection with the Teen and Youth Festival that's happening that day. I have a passion, if you know me, for fashion, so I help with the fashion show team, coordination team. So tomorrow, there are auditions tomorrow at the Harlem State Office Building on the 11th, and you can come to me after if you're interested. Young people, if you would like to model, if you have talent, I know we have talent in the building. Also, we have 4 adult shows. So adults, if you think you got it and you can model, there is an audition at the end of the month, and you can come see me after that if you're interested. All right, 2 more announcements, bear with me. Darius Lee, anybody know who Darius Lee was? Yes. Besides Fo? Anybody else? Nobody else knows who Darius Lee was? Lisa, you raised your hand. That's right. So last Father's Day, there was a shooting on this side of Harlem, right here, right up the ramp on 138th Street, right. And unfortunately, one of the lives taken was Darius Lee, and he was just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time. The bullets were not for him. We've been working with his family since then, since last year, but they started the D. Lee 23 Foundation. They had their first basketball clinic last Friday. We helped to fund that, so let's clap that up. They will be having their first official classic memorial basketball tournament in his honor because Darius Lee was fired. They said he was going to go to the NBA. So in his legacy, they're continuing on to keep it alive in the community. So it's August 5th, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. at Millbank. So we want to make sure that we support it. NAN is already a sponsor. We're on the flyer, but we want to make sure that we're there to support the Lee family and continue on the legacy and to fight gun violence in our community. We fight police violence, we fight racial violence, but we need to make sure we fight gun violence in our community. Community violence is a real issue. So just make sure if you need a flyer, if you need a copy of it, we have those for you. And again, that's August 5th. Last but not least, Harlem Week, again, as I mentioned, we have the modeling, but there's also a poetry slam. You can compete for a chance to win $250. You just have to complete it, and it will be on August 20th. So you have until July 17th to submit if you would like to be in the team poetry slam for $250. And we also have flyers for that. All right? That's all my announcements. Oh, wait, one last one. Sorry. Eric Garner Day. Who's Eric Garner? Everybody's saying should be up. This is the National Network. That's not even cute. Who is Eric Garner? Daniel, who's Eric Garner? No, my man. Who's Eric Garner? Foley, who's Eric Garner?
Eric Garner was choked out by a police officer.
Okay. 9 years ago. So Eric Garner, we should all know, first of all, because his family are members here. Emerald Garner is usually here. Their children are usually here. They're part of the legacy. We basically started in the fight, National Network started in the fight when Eric Garner was killed in Staten Island unjustly. We've been there every year, every step of the way. Gwen Carr is on this stage every Saturday with Reverend Sharpton, helping to lead the fight across the country against racial injustice. So she is asking, Gwen Carr and the Eric Initiative Foundation is asking all of us to join. Huddle is one of the sponsors with NAN and the Arc of Justice to join in the 9th commemoration of Eric Garner Day this Saturday. Everyone say this Saturday? This Saturday, July 15th, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Eric Garner Way and Bay and Victory. They will be having a community celebration to remember Eric Garner with the family, with Gwen Carr. So we are asking if you can make it this Saturday to join us. Of course, we have the Saturday Action Rally, but we will all be going to Staten Island immediately following to support Gwen Carr and the family and to keep the legacy of Eric Garner joining with his family. Thank you. I know that was a lot. I hope you had some of it resonated. Thank you.
Also, just to reiterate what Ashley was saying about any youth organizations that want to join us and be part of the march, the best way to contact us is our email, youth@nationalactionnetwork.net. I'm going to say it again, youth@nationalactionnetwork.net. So we hope to see you August 26th. Next, we have our Black History Fact of the day. So we'd like to call up our brother Daniel. Can we give him a round of applause?
Good evening. Black History Fact of the Day is an article titled Daytona Beach Celebrates the 148th Birthday of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune. The city of Daytona Beach held a celebration Monday for the 148th birthday of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune along the riverfront esplanade in Daytona, downtown. Maysville, South Carolina to parents who were former slaves. The article continues to read, Bethune first launched an all-girls school on Oak Street named Daytona Literary and Industrial Training School for Negro girls. As the school grew, she bought land at the old dump for $1.50 and moved the school to where it sits today. Lucas Humans said Bethune developed relationships with people like John Rockefeller, James Gamble, and Thomas White to help finance the school and her vision. The college merged with the Cookman Institute in year 1923 and became a university in year 2007. In year 2022, an 11-foot marble statue of educator, activist, and entrepreneur Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune was unveiled at the U.S. Capitol on Wednesday morning. This is the first statue of an African American representing a state in National Statutory Hall. The 3-ton statue was sculpted by Florida artist Nilda Comas, the first Hispanic master sculptor chosen for the National Statutory Hall collection. Comas sculpted the statue in Pietrasanta, Italy, using a 11.5-ton block of statutorio marble excavated from Michelangelo's cave in Tuscany. The statue was previously on display in Daytona Beach, where Bethune lived. It replaced that of Confederate General Edmund Kirby Smith, who was born in Florida. And that concludes the Black History Fact of the day I read.
Hold on. Thank you. Give him a round of applause. We're going to call you up again because you have our Art-of-ism segment. So you get started with that.
Gentlemen, are y'all ready? I'm going to let y'all introduce yourselves, and then you can get right into the music. Thank you. Do you guys need me to turn the microphone?
How are you guys? I go by Drew, and this is my boy right here, the Highway Story. We're coming from upstate New York, probably about 45 minutes away, so this is definitely dear to us. We do have a couple of songs to share with you guys, so I hope you guys enjoy.
This heart of mine won't let it die. Although I find it wears out, it wears out, it wears out. Heard you came knocking, struck me down on my bone. Oh, I don't even know that you've been out on your phone. Senses failing me now, jump on the mission. I can't let you go, but I won't let you know. Senses failing me now, jump on a mission. I can't let you go, but I won't let you know. This heart of mine jump on the mission. I can't let you go, but I won't let you know. This heart of mine, I won't let it die. Although I find it wears out, 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 it wears. This heart of mine, it wears. I won't let it die. Although I find it wears out. Okay. So this other one, it's gonna be a song that we've never really practiced before, and just kind of like going off of what we've heard today, I felt like it would be appropriate to kind of try to create something off of that energy and promote what this is all about. So like bear with us as we come up with this as it goes along. I think, I'm trying to remember the progression I was telling you, so it's gonna be like something like. How can you hate me for the color of my skin? Oh, how can you shame me for the wounds I still bear? How can you hate me for the color of my skin? Oh, how can you shame me for the wounds I still bear? How can you hate me for the color of my skin? Oh, how could you hate me for how I am? Oh, nah. Sticks and stones won't break me down. Oh, your sticks and stones won't break me down. Oh, your sticks and stones won't break me down. I'll shine through. Well, how can you hate me for the color of my skin? Oh, how can you shame me for the wounds I still bear? Ready, guys? Ready? 1, 2. How can you hate me? Oh, how can you hate me for the color of my skin? Well, how can you shame me for the wounds I still bear? How can you still bear. Your sticks and stones won't break me down. 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 Thank you.
Yeah, so follow us on Instagram as well. I go by Fly High Drew. This is the highway story from Fly High Drew, flyhigh.drew, and this right here.
I am the highway story. You can find me on all social platforms on that. And I feel like, this is like my first time doing something specifically like this outside of like regular gigs. And like, it's always like so amazing to see people coming together for like such a very strong, powerful, like meaning like this. And it's like, I'm kind of like at a loss of words. I'm like a little nervous because it's like, this is like some of the stuff I really talk about on my own personal time with my friends and sharing my own personal experiences with like the stuff going on right now. Police brutality is a thing, violence in our communities. It's like, I stress it a lot. Like, for change to start, it really begins in our communities. It's like, if we put all the money and resources back into our communities, it will flourish, And it's like, I always get so frustrated when people like always talk bad about certain neighborhoods and stuff like that. And it's like, dude, if you think about it, look at these communities. You see that they're taking resources away from schools. After school programs are being taken away. Like personally, my childhood elementary school, I used to go back there to play music for the kids. And that's something that like, isn't there anymore. They've cut so many programs and it's, yeah. But yeah, it's just, I'm sorry. But yeah, so I really love what this stands for, what you are all doing, what you are all a part of. And I really hope that like this message, this is something that like reaches so many more people because our communities it's the gold mine. It's everything, it's essential. It's the past, present, future, it's everything, it begins with us. And the highway story. Thank you.
All right, next we have membership in Texler. So is everybody an updated member for the year of 2023? All right. And I assume you've also renewed your membership. If not, this applies to you as well as those who are not member. The best way to stay informed and into action is become a member of National Action Network. To stay informed about NAN's events and close to where you live, text JUSTICE followed by your state to 59769. I'm going to repeat it again. Text JUSTICE followed by your state to 59769. Also, join us every Saturday for our Saturday Action rallies at 9 a.m., where you'll hear our leader, Reverend Sharpton, come and speak. And, of course, join us on August 26th for the March on Washington. For now, we're opening up to good news. So if anybody has some good news they would like to come say, come line up. Of course, let's keep it a little quick and brief.
All right, good day, everybody, and God bless everybody. I'm so glad we're here together. All right, my good news is on Saturday, July 1st, 2023, during the program, the rally, there was an announcement that there will be a huddle on July 3rd. Always something to look forward to. So, of course, by God's grace and mercy on me in the name of Christ Jesus, I was here. My sister was here. Brother Gilchrist, the videographer, was here. 2 of the advisors were here. And it was canceled. Okay, so I respectfully want to inform the Sharpton sisters, I know they're very busy, and they're going to be busier because times require their presence in other places. But I respectfully request that you make every effort for this huddle to carry on. It's very necessary. It could have been an abbreviated program. I realized when I attended here July 3rd, many other people came over too. We were looking forward to it. It's really something to realize that during these times, Huddle, it seems to be a place where we could socially gather and take part in rejoicing. So I want you to know Huddle is happening. Huddle is popping. It really is. That is the good news. And even if you have to do an abbreviated presentation, please proceed, especially when there's an announcement that Huddle will take place. Okay, thank you so much. God bless you all.
Any good news? Can you please come step up? Good news.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael. I'm a part of the administrative team here. I work here usually from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. But last week, a couple of weeks ago, I had the pleasure of attending my first huddle. My good news is this week, I have my nephew with me, my nephew Brand. It feels good to be able to spend some quality time with him and find a way to connect with him. I found out that he's got a thing for photography, so now I got something to build with him and connect with him on, so that's great for me.
Hello, y'all. I'm up here again. I just want to say thank you to National Action Network. That's always good news, especially for Youth Huddle. Additionally, I recently attended my first class at Finkelstein Library in Spring Valley, honoring African cultural continuity in film. Special shout out to Brooklyn Demi and Ashley Dawson. They were there in the house, and they rocked it. It was excellent programming, one of, I believe, 8 sessions that's moving forward into the future. I believe this may be their first time around, so I'm congratulating them. It's certainly good news. I had a great experiencing. What I experienced was, I'm going to say, to the extent that the truth to power that they mentioned in some of the information that they sent through RCC, through the library, was certainly significant. The catalog description reads, this course will allow students to receive and learn from the immense cultural value on both sides of the camera, from films of the African diaspora. African cultural continuity acknowledges that slavery was not the beginning of history for Black people in America. Through 8 films and accompanying community conversations. I don't know who wrote that, but it certainly held true, so I'm looking forward to the rest of the 7 sessions. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a lot of good news. The first one being that I graduated from Hampton University in May. I was an education major at Hampton, and so I start teaching ELA this coming August. And so I'm really excited about that. So it'll be a big transition for me. I'll be teaching in New Jersey, so I'm moving out of Queens. I'm from Queens to go to Jersey. And so, yeah, it's a lot of newness for me, but I'm excited. So the good news is that I'll be good wherever I'm at, and I'm glad to be here.
Greetings, everyone. This afternoon, I attended a ceremony in Bronx County, sponsored by the Association of African American Life and History. The organization started by Carl G. Woodson in 1915. The event was to commemorate the ending of slavery in the state of New York in 1827. Why is that? The state of New York also had put together a commission, the second state in the United States, California, to deal with the issue of reparations. New York City and Charleston, South Carolina, are the 2 leading traders in slavery. The good news is that, once again, we want to educate everyone that the issue of reparations is on the table, and that there's a big push going on throughout this whole state to make the second Monday in July a state-funded mandated holiday. I'll finish up with this. Why is that so important? You got 10 southern states who have a state-funded mandated holiday on June 3rd for Jefferson Davis.
Good evening, everyone. My good news is that I attended the Essence Festival. I want to say it was a good Essence Festival. I want to thank Dominique Sharpton and Ashley Sharpton for all their hard work at the festival. It was so much going on, and it's my first time attending and going to a whole lot of stuff. But what I did attend was the Essence authors. There were so many Black authors there, and there's so many books out there to read about Black authors. But this one particular author, he had a book, and it was called Early Departures. I can't remember his name, but y'all can look it up. He's a Black author. And the reason he wrote the book is about people leaving us early and departing us. And he wrote it because he was a nurse in the hospital, and it really took to me, so I had to purchase his book. But I just wanted to tell y'all about that. And I did have a good time. It was a party with a purpose, but we got all roads lead to Washington, D.C., and everyone knows August 26th, we have to go there. And Reverend Sharpton did address that every time he spoke there. And thank you, Reverend Sharpton, for everything that you do.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. My good news is that I was in the store a few months back, and the young lady was asking me about a word, the word presence, like a person's presence. And she's from another country, so she kept saying present, like a gift, right? So I used the opportunity to sing a little song that I know in church. And, you know, the presence of the Lord is here in this place. And unbeknownst to me, the gentleman behind me, he was like a drug addict and on the streets, and he was so happy that I was singing that, and he was like, "Oh man, God really sent you." And I'm like, I was just singing a song, you know what I mean? It wasn't, you know, for anything like that. And then I noticed all the time when I see him outside, he's cleaning up in front of the stores without asking for anything. And I asked him, "So you all right? You want something?" No. Just the fact that you did that was good enough. And he's been cleaning up so much that one of the vendors that's been there for many years in front of Yankee Stadium gave him a job to clean up over there, you know? So he's looking better every day. And that's my good news.
That's good news.
My vocation is I get to go to the other house and meet Carly and Kelsey. And when I do goodness, me and Dad go to get on adventure today. And when I do something, we have a whole lot of day of school.
That's some good news?
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. No, just give me a high five. Just give me a high five. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I have two pieces of good news. The first one is everybody, I had told Ashley and Dominic this last week, and Patrice, if you're 19 to 14 years old, you can go to Planet Fitness for the whole summer, all the way up into September for free. 14 to 19 years old, okay? Just go right on and sign up, okay? And, okay, my personal good news is I submitted Denny Moe from Denny Moe Superstar Barbershop for a MasterCard and Yankee commercial, and they actually shot it on Friday.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for that good news. All right, now for the good part, the Did You Know segments. We're going to call up our senior advisor, Patrice Perry, up to start us off. Give her a round of applause.
Good evening, NAN Huddle family. So I'm coming up here just with a little bit of Did You Know? How many of you know the name Hill Harper? All right, not bad. Part of the room, that's good. So let me tell you a little bit about what's going on with Hill Harper. Democratic leaders hope Elisa Slotkin, and she's running for office in Michigan, will clear the field in the Senate primary in Michigan, giving the battle-tested candidate extra time and money to prepare for the general election. Instead of a handful of Democrats have already jumped into the race, and one is likely on the way. Hill Harper, the actor from The Good Doctor, has never run for office before, but he feels the need to take that on. He is finalizing plans to launch his Senate campaign in the coming weeks. The Democrat is preparing for his kickoff event, according to a person close to Harper's team. He has also shot his announcement and video for his campaign. He said, "I have never done this before, but I know I need to run to beat Slotkin, who was a moderate 3-term Democrat House member who represents a swing district. His allies believe that Harper is an African American who will be able to build a coalition that includes progressive and black voters. They also point to his history serving on President Barack Obama's cancer panel and his ties to the well-heeled potential donors in Hollywood. I think Hill getting into the race will be a really good thing for Michigan Democrats," said Sheriff Jerry Clayton. "In my experience, coronations tend to hurt the party, while robust and competitive primaries with a healthy and respectful debate over the real issue tends to help. Some Democrats caution that Harper's bid isn't a sure thing until he's announcing that he's running. He had initially prepared for an April kickoff. If Harper pulls, he will face an uphill climb. Slotkin, his opponent, has already raised $2.3 million, and she has it on hand. She did that at the end of March. She has the support of the Democratic Party statewide. She has Emily's List, Vote Vets, End Citizens United, Representative Haley Stevens, and the Michigan Building Trades Council have endorsed her. Many of Slotkin's would-be Democratic competitors have already opted against the Senate campaign, including Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist, Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, and State Senator Mallory McMorrow, retiring Senator Debbie Stabenow. Harper will also have to take on several other Democrats who have jumped into the Senate race, including the Michigan State Board of Education President Pamela Pugh, former State Representative Leslie Love, business person Nassar Bedon, and attorney Zach Burns. On the GOP side, the State Board of Education member Nikki Snyder, the former commissioner Ezra Scott, business owner Michael Hoover, and attorney Alexandria Taylor are among those vying for this job. So again, this is just informational, but it's kind of alarming that he's never run for office before, but he has a notion that he believes that he can win if he pulls all of his Hollywood people with him. So those of you out there in our chapters in Michigan, keep us updated. We'll stay on the know. And Hill Harper, I mean, hey, we don't endorse anyone, but I challenge you to get your Hollywood people to start voting. And that is the Did You Know? And just to say really quickly, he did attend, of course, the best convention in the world, the National Action Network Convention that just happened in April. He was right at the Sheridan on one of our panels. So Hill Harper, I mean, you know, Nan loves you, but we got to see what you're going to do. You're an actor. We want to make sure you be able to hit these streets. So stay in the know, and that is my Did You Know? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Next, we have Ashley Sharpton coming up with our second Did You Know? Give her a round of applause.
Thank you, sir. And I must acknowledge OnStar in the building. He's a community leader. To me, he's one of the baddest performing artists you've heard. You can Google him if you don't know who he is, but always a pleasure to have you here, Doc. And we need, oh, that was Mommy. She said she saw him on Wildin' Out the other night. And we also need you for the march. You have a strong voice and a galvanize, and you have an incredible gift, so we definitely need your mobilizing efforts, brother. And I just want to clap y'all up. Our Art-of-ism guests, y'all, thank you for sharing. Let's clap them up. That's not easy to come up here for the first time and share your gifts in the space. So I just want to salute y'all and thank y'all for coming all that way, because you didn't have to do that. All right, so my Did You Know is about the Tulsa race massacre with reparations. You probably heard about it in the news. We had our special guest who we were talking about. I think the oldest people I've ever seen alive in real life that I've ever seen. One was 106. One was 106 and the other, her sister, Mother Fletcher, was 109, I believe. And they were here 3 weeks ago, right here in the same space. So for this article to see what they're doing and to basically see what's happening and understanding that it all comes right back here, right back to NAN related, it just reminds us of our responsibility going forward. We stand on incredible shoulders, and what they've done with the Tulsa, just living through the Tulsa race massacre, surviving and spreading their stories alone, and then continue to face another form of rejection is just crazy. So we must fight on in their legacy and in their footsteps. But this is more of an informational, like Patricia said, but if you have a response, if you want to share something in response to it, we welcome you to do so. Of course, we welcome our young people to do so first. All right? So, wait, before I get in, does anybody know what the Tulsa race massacre was? Young people? Anybody? Of our graduates? Felivi? Who's one? Yeah. Oh, you thought it was a...
Yeah, it was a wealthy black community, had their own movie theaters, everything. Everything was black owned. And the direct story of how it was started was it was a black man that I believe was accused of rape, and the white town came and basically destroyed the whole wealthy black community as a result. There was, of course, more having to do with the story, but that's a small summary.
All right, excellent. Let's clap him up. Clap him up. Thank you. Anybody want to add? All right, thank you. All right, an Oklahoma judge has thrown out a lawsuit seeking reparations for the 1921 Tulsa race massacre, dashing an effort to obtain some measure of legal justice for elderly survivors. The judge, Carolyn Wall, on Friday dismissed with prejudice the lawsuit which attempted to force the city and others to make recompense for the destruction of Greenwood, a once thriving black district. That's what Felipe was referring to, Greenwood. The case involved 3 survivors of the attack, all now over 100 years old, and who sued in 2020 in the hope of seeing what their attorney called justice in their lifetime, which makes sense. Spokespeople for the city and a lawyer for the survivors, Leslie Benningfield Randall, Viola Fletcher, and Hughes Van Ellis did not immediately comment. Wall, a Tulsa County District Court judge, wrote in a brief order that she was tossing the case based on arguments from the city, the Regional Chamber of Commerce, and other state and local government agencies. Last year, she ruled against the defendant's motion to dismiss and allow the case to proceed. Judicial elections in Oklahoma are technically nonpartisan, but Wall has described herself as a constitutional conservative in campaign questionnaires. The lawsuit was brought under Oklahoma's public nuisance law, which in 2019 was used by the state attorney general to force the drug maker Johnson & Johnson to pay $465 million in damages over the opioids epidemic. The Oklahoma Supreme Court overturned that decision 2 years later. The Tulsa race massacre suit said the actions of the white mob that killed hundreds of black residents and destroyed what had been the most prosperous black business district in the United States continue to affect the city today. It contended that Tulsa's long history of racial division and tension stemmed from the massacre, during which a mob descended on a 35-block area, looting, killing, and burning. Thousands were left homeless, living in a hastily constructed camp. So for those who are from Harlem, 35 blocks, right? So imagine that's 145th to 115th, and they just destroyed all of it. But it was thriving, it wasn't just your blocks. Imagine that, the audacity, the destruction, what comes from that mentally, physically, what happened when they burned the flames, what we're talking about, what we smell right now, what they talk about stay inside because what's burned. Imagine what that smelled like then. And they burned it down, and they did it legally. They did it, and no one cared. So imagine that city and what was around it. So I want you to understand, because that's basically why the 3 survivors went back to sue, because there's long-term effects that happen, not just short-term. Okay, sorry, I went off topic. A Chamber of Commerce attorney previously said the massacre was horrible, but the nuisance it caused was not ongoing. Fletcher, at 109, the oldest living survivor who we saw here, is set to release a memoir. She released it already. Responding to Judge Wall's decision, the renowned civil rights attorney and friend to NAN, Ben Crump, lamented a sad miscarriage of justice. Bishop Talbot Swan of the Vermont Ecclesiastical Jurisdiction said, America has $70 billion for Ukrainians in conflict with Russians, but $0 for black people murdered. I'm gonna say that one more time. America has $70 billion for Ukrainians in conflict with Russians, but $0 for black people murdered, brutalized, and dehumanized by white Americans. All right, I'm with Brother Talbot on that one, okay? Fairness guides everything we do. We know that there is a right and a wrong position in the fight against racism and for reproductive justice. When we report on issues like the climate crisis, we're not, oh, this is not, sorry. I'm like, what happened? Sorry. The lawsuit dismissal came a day after Ryan Walters. Everybody know who Ryan Walters is? He's been all over the news about his United. Yeah.
I don't know much about him, but is he the guy that spoke about the racial theory?
Yep. Okay, so he's basically in charge of Oklahoma State schools, education, and basically he said that race should not be taught when we're teaching about the Tulsa Massacre, and he's in charge of the schools. So this is basically, everyone keeps talking about DeSantis and what's happening in Florida and fighting black history, but it's not just in Florida. And it's also dog whistles. So basically, if you see something happening one place, it's definitely gonna spread, because if they see it allowed, that's why we must stand up and continuously fight back aggressively, because if it's allowed, more people are just gonna do what they want to. The audacity, Dad says it the best. They just took their hoods off now, and they have, they wear suits, and they have Esquire next to their names. But it's the same racist tones. It's the same feelings. And we have to, as they are playing chess, and they are organizing and doing what they have to do to get judges in, and use Trump and whatever other clowns they need to do to get their agenda across, we need to come together and get over our pettiness and do the same. Because it's literally us on the line. To end this article, okay, so Walters, who has advocated against the teaching of racism in U.S. history, was asked at a public forum in Norman, Oklahoma, how the massacre could not fall under his interpretation of critical race theory, an academic discipline that examines the ways in which racism operates in U.S. laws and society, which Republicans across the United States have turned into a profitable political bugbear. Walters said, I will never tell a kid that because of your race, because of your color of your skin, or your gender, or anything like that, you are less of a person or are inherently racist. That doesn't mean that you don't judge the actions of individuals. Oh, you can, absolutely. Historically, you should. This was right, this was wrong, they did this for this reason. But to say it was inherent in that because of their skin is where I say that is critical race theory. You're saying that race defines a person. I reject that. So I would say you be judgmental of the issue, of the action, of the content, of the character of the individual, absolutely. But let's not tie it to the skin color and say that the skin color determined it. This is all what he's saying to defend himself, but at the end of the day, he's never been black. I don't know if he understands the privilege of his skin color, so I'm not sure that stands in, my court, but I'm not a judge. So that's one of the reasons why we are fighting. I think that basis of his belief goes into affirmative action. It goes into what we've seen with the Supreme Court judges, is that standard of that belief. So again, we're fighting something that's a little deeper than law. These are people's opinions, and they're letting it affect their decisions to make all of our lives change. So I don't know if anybody has a comment or statement, but that is the end of my article. And I can throw it back to Felipe. Oh, come on. Tony, welcome. Oh, and just to address, because Word mentioned it, I don't know, for those who are new here, I'm the founder and director of Huddle. So this is our 10th year here. So we definitely have had, we don't cancel for, hold on, sorry. We've never canceled Huddle for the 4th of July. You can regard it, you can recall it. The Huddle does not depend on Dominic and Ashley Sharpton. So that, I don't know where that came from, but that definitely does not work here. If we are able to have Huddle, we are, because we have the leadership to do so, and we will continue to. It was announced on Saturday as a mistake. Everyone in authority knew Huddle was canceled on Monday. I don't know what 2 advisors was here that did not let them know. Mo was talking to me from Huddle, literally from sitting here, so I'm not sure the information that was shared. That's confusing. All of the staff knew, so if they did not share it with you all who were present, the 3 people that were here, I apologize to y'all. But we also welcome you. There's a sign-in sheet. Goldie, please raise your hand. Please, old members, new members, everything in between. If we do not have your proper information, it's hard to send you information. So please write down your email and your number legibly, and we can make sure that you have the information. But again, for the 3 people that were here that did not get that information, I'm sorry that you wasted your time. Arnstein. No, that was an announcement.
Thank you. I just wanted to piggyback on what you said about you don't know if his skin color makes a difference. I think there is a difference between intelligence and wisdom. And some people pride themselves on just being smart. You know, when I was a kid, I got picked on for being smart. You know, and then I became so smart that I said if I bully the bullies before they get to me, then I'll be safe. Turned around, I was being a bully. So a lot of people don't recognize themselves as bullies because they've been defending themselves their whole life. And, you know, and that's not to defend one person or another, it's just for perspective. And so at this point, we're now charged with the responsibility to be our own storytellers for our own history. Because it is his story, right? So it's our story. So it's our time to tell our version of the story. And we have been victimized, but we're not victims. You know? There's a lot of spirits, like different type of entities that are trying to control a body of people. And it starts with legislation, the word, writing it down, making it plain, and saying this is now legal. Legal doesn't mean right in the eyes of God. So we have to be ready and willing to stand up and even lay our lives down for what we stand for. And that's truth, justice, freedom, empowerment, and enlightenment on all stages for the greater version of the next generation that's going to come behind us. So, you know, I'll wrap it up like this. What was once a new truth is now an old lie. And there's things that was told to me from my parents is, don't whistle in the house. Did anybody grow up hearing that? Don't whistle while you're in the house? Anybody heard that? Do you know why? Okay, cool. Probably slavery, but why was it told to you? It was just told, right? And you just listened, correct? Out of respect. Respectfully, certain things are going to change by the time you become sentient, like old enough to take care of yourself. So now we got to take care of our own mental health. We have to take care of our own emotional well-being. And we cannot expect liars to tell the truth to us. We have to be the truth for them and for ourselves first. So everything starts with you. Your whole universe starts with you. And with that being said, you have to check your word, check your grammar, check your spelling, because it is spells. And it is magic that comes from you as a melanated person, naturally exuding, just like the fruit that grows on a tree. But if you've been separated from the roots for so long, you won't know where to go back home to. So I appreciate you. Yeah, and so in concluding statements, I went to Africa this year. I went to Tanzania, and I felt a whole different spirit come over my body. I tasted different foods, I smelled different airs, and I swim in different waters. And it really let me know that a lot of things that we're charged with, it didn't come from us. It wasn't approved by us. It's a bunch of letters being thrown at us saying it's approved by this corporation, that corporation. But we're a corporation, you know? We're a body of people moving in the business of God. So we have to start registering and trademarking our way of being from comparison to what happened yesterday. Being upset only goes but so far, and feeling defeated takes you out of the game completely. So I just want to let y'all know that we are winning and we have won. If you can see it as such, it's just time for the body to follow the mind and the spirit. So if you can put yourself in action around all the things that you know that makes you great and help other people be great, that is the first step to changing your whole reality structure. And I love you.
Fire. Thank you. Thank you, Arn. The universe starts with you. I'm going to put that somewhere. That was fire. Come on.
That speech that you read, the legal writing was amazing. Here's why. There are different types of communication styles. You have comedians, they intentionally try to make you laugh. You got people that are in the dating world, they're intentionally trying to get you to like them. There are coaches and teachers, they're intentionally trying to get you to think or to learn. There's all kinds of stuff. There's parenting. Parenting speaks to get you to do what you better do, daggone it. What that speech style was, and there's also debating and all stuff, TED Talk style, all kind of stuff. This speech was a white fragility speech. It was them trying not to be fragile about their racism and about how weak they feel and don't want to hide, don't want to cover it. They covered it up, but they was using the speech style of the white fragility mental model. We need to be able to recognize that so we could break it down because, yeah, they're going to hide behind the laws, but if we could break down the white fragility mindset all the time, the way we could identify jokes from a comedian, then we could actually take care of ourselves so much better, so much ahead of time before they even come up with the laws in the first place. And that's what I got.
Okay, I was tuned in and I also saw the video of the Board of Education director making this statement. And of course, the statement was really confusing, and it was meant to be confusing. But one thing I got out of it, and this is something I'm going to address to white people, we already know that not all white people are racist. White people know that not all white people are racist. The white people that burnt down Greenwood in Oklahoma, they were white people who were racist. So we just face the reality and make the difference. Then you don't have to really impart on the white children wrongfully, putting a guilt trip on them for being who they are born to be. So we got to be mindful that they're using the same old premise again of divide and conquer. That's the reality of it. There are white people in our families. There are white people who are part of National Network who are not racist. So we all have to unify all colors, all ethnicities from wherever we are, whatever differences we have, and unifying the fact that we are one race, the human race. That's it, and that's all. Thank you. Oh, excuse me.
Hello. All I really wanted to say up here was that, okay, yeah. All I really wanted to say was that we don't really have any enemies. It's not who are we fighting and who are we trying to fight. It's like we all have our own mindset. We all have our own justice system. Some have it different than others. That's sure. That's not defending the other. That's just saying that, you know, the guy you're trying to go at is a single human. You're not going to be fighting against the whole crowd because that's impossible. You divide and conquer as they did, because to fight an enemy, you have to know how they think. Otherwise, you're just going to get hit in the face by something you never saw. So you have to know who you're fighting against, not the person, not like the group. You're not fighting against the group. You're fighting against a face, because the face is where the brain is at. And once you know where you're going for, where you're going trying to hit the brain, that's what you're trying to go for, never the person. Because if you're just going for the person, someone could easily step up and take the blow. And that's going to be someone who is innocent, someone who's just trying to protect their friend. Like, for instance, let's say, for instance, there is a murderer, right? Somebody, 36-year-old man, right? He completely is an absolutely bad human being, but there was one person he cared for, his 15-year-old brother. See, now you automatically feel, you know, he was a good person, right, to his brother. You can't remove the fact that he did something bad. You're judging off that fact alone. So, you know, saying it was, oh, race, we have to remove that from the mindset. No, why? What's the point of that? There's no reason. Because at the end of the day, what you're going for is a singular part, not the whole story. You can agree with someone, but not their point. But always go after one thing, never the entire thing. because that's how you just get sidetracked and do all this other stuff.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Our last comment on this?
Thank you, Ms. Sharpton. Hi, Nan. Congratulations to the young lady. I just wanted to piggyback off what the sister said. We may all be the human race, but we're classified by our race as black people. You fill out an application, they got Indian, white, black, all this kind of thing here. That's up there for a reason, to make a count. Not only that, it's coming down to the thing with your socioeconomic, you're being judged by your socioeconomics. So you have people who are black that when they get in a certain job, like if it's tennis, they don't see a lot of black folks. They may be like a small population, maybe 1%. So they end up marrying outside their race because they don't see us in that socioeconomic, So we got to call it the way we see it. That whole thing about ain't but one race but the human race. If that was a fact, we wouldn't be going through what we're going through. So we got to recognize the reality that we are a black people, African American, which that was Jesse Jackson's piece, that African American thing, that came from Jesse Jackson. We got to recognize the color of our skin and recognize that our boys are being slaughtered in the parks and in the streets, and our blood is everywhere, our flesh is in the marrow of the streets. We better start calling it the way it is and stop trying to kumbaya everything and all this kind of thing. I can go on and on and on. We got to stop with the kumbaya. All these churches, well, I'm divided because I'm Muslim, and you Jehovah's Witness, and this one is Presbyterian, and they are non-denominational. That's the thing that's dividing our butts. We lucky we got a huddle, okay? I'm a woman of extreme age, and I'm gonna share something with y'all. Yes, I'm over 59, and I'm gonna tell you right now, coming to this place is help saving me, because I'm gonna tell you something. I am very disturbed by what I'm seeing. And this huddle, me being here today, I may not be a child, but I look at these little black faces, and it's the faces of these young, perfect children. That's the ones being slaughtered. Them the ones they're taking out. So my butt coming here is helping to save me. Getting up and coming here is helping me. And I thank God for this place. I'm going to give me a lifetime membership real soon, because God don't like stingy people. So we got to come up, open up them pockets and stuff like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Queen. God bless you. Thank you to everybody that shared. Everybody shared something from their heart and they dropped gems. Make sure that you continue to watch what's going on with reparations, but at the end of the day, if they took away affirmative action, if they didn't improve student loan debts, they're definitely not going to give us reparations. So we need to come together. Make sure y'all join us August 26th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashley. For our next Did You Know segment, calling up our brother Mo Bars up to the stage.
I saw your Instagram pic. I had to get one too. All right, calm down. All right. Now this article right here was supposed to be read last huddle, but we had so much heat last huddle, we had to save this for this week. The dangerous myth of the missing black father. This is, man, uncomfortable. All right. Growing up, the lesson was everywhere. Every major problem in black America can be solved if we address the problem of missing black fathers. No longer is a person embarrassed because they're pregnant without a husband. Disgraced comedian and alleged rapist Bill Cosby said in 2004, no longer is a boy considered an embarrassment if he tries to run away from being the father of the unmarried child. When a police officer was killed in Jersey City in July 2014, a local television news reporter said on the air that the underlying cause of the anti-cop mentality that has so contaminated America's inner cities was young black men growing up without fathers. A Rutgers headline from 2007 proclaimed father absence decimates black community in the U.S. President Obama has been one of the biggest advocates of this idea. In a 2008 speech delivered on Father's Day at a church on Chicago's South Side, the first viable black candidate for president of the United States chastised black fathers. Too many black fathers, he said, are missing from too many lives and too many homes. They have abandoned their responsibilities, acting like boys instead of men. We know the statistics, that children who grow up without a father are 5 times more likely to live in poverty and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of schools, and 20 times more likely to end up in prison. Obama said, they are likely to have behavioral problems or run away from the home or become teenage parents themselves. And the foundations of our community are weaker because of it. It became a staple in the speeches delivered to majority or all black audiences. As recently as last year, Obama said at a poverty summit, I am a black man who grew up without a father, and I know the cost that I paid for that. However, responsible fatherhood only goes so far in a world plagued by institutionalized oppression. For black children, the presence of fathers would not alter race, drug laws, prosecutorial protection of police officers who kill mass school closures, or the poisoning of their water. By focusing on the supposed absence of black fathers, we allow ourselves to pretend this oppression is not real, while also further scapegoating black men for America's societal ills. In 1965, the New York Senator Patrick Moynihan's published The Negro Family, The Case for National Action. It argued that the number of women-led whole households in black communities was the largest obstacle to black people achieving economic and political equality. Since then, the issue of missing black fathers has been a top priority for black intellectuals, activists, and community leaders, as well as a favorite retort from people seeking to deflect from the conversations about structural racism. The thinking goes like this. The high rates of poverty and incarceration and low levels of educational achievement in black communities can be traced in part back to the high number of black babies born out of wedlock and subsequently raised in single-mother homes. It's a patriarchal twist of the mythological, magical Negro. Black fathers could supposedly stem the devastating effects of oppression imposed from classroom to the workplace to the court system. If black men just showed up in the homes of their children, acted like men instead of boys, black families and communities would fortify themselves and our long-held problems would simply wither away. Of course, there are studies that show that children who grow up in 2-parent households perform better in school, are less likely to commit crime, and have higher future earning potential. What these studies often don't take into account is the impact of depressed wages, chronic unemployment, discriminatory hiring practices, the history of mass incarceration, housing segregation, and inequality or educational opportunity, not just on family structure, but on the resources available to black families to produce results similar to where their white counterparts are. And there are other problems with romanticizing the black family structure. Black nuclear families have been torn apart since the days of slavery. And since then, we have also reimagined the family structure, where the biological parents haven't been available, aunts and uncles, grandmothers and grandfathers, and a host of family and friends, play cousins, have stepped in to do the work of raising a child. Today, as prison removes more and more black men from their homes, we do the same. To say that these other family formations inherently deficient because there isn't a father is to say no one else is capable of providing adequate love to a child, while also teaching the children who grow up without the idealized nuclear family model that their lives are somehow wrong, raised to believe that they miss something vital. It's no surprise if children without fathers in their homes have more behavioral problems, and that families with women-led households are more likely to live in poverty, speak less to the necessity of fathers, and more to the fact that a single income is no longer sufficient to support a family in this country, that our economy undervalues the work of women, and that outside childcare is prohibitively expensive luxury. An economic shift to real living wages for women's labor and a total societal investment in the well-being of all children would solve a number of the problems we think are only alleviated by fathers. Even with the presence of fathers in the home, the persistent high black male unemployment rate would do little to change or close the existing increasing racial wealth gap, with it at place where it should take 228 years for black households to catch up. That's crazy. It's hard to put this inadequate philosophy to rest. It's hard because the missing black father has caused so much pain. That hurt runs through the rhetoric of every well-meaning person who has ever admonished black fathers for not being in their children's lives. It's the foundation of Obama's first book. The pain of missing a father is real and can't be discontinued. But so long as it is, the only way we see the issue of the black family, the myth will continue to entangle us and prevent us from reckoning with what's real. The damage isn't done by the absence of a father, but from the feeling of abandonment. If black children were raised in an environment that focused not on bemoaning their lack of fathers, but on filling their lives with the nurturing love we all need to thrive, what difference would an absent father make? If they woke up in homes where electricity, running water, and food were never scarce, went to schools with teachers and counselors who provided everything they needed to learn, then went home to caretakers of any gender who weren't too exhausted to sit and talk and do homework with them, and no one ever said their lives were incomplete because they didn't have a father, would they hold on to the pain of lack well into adulthood? This isn't an argument in favor of deadbeat fathers, but a call to detach ourselves from the myth that the only way for a black man to survive, it depends on the presence of a man we call a father. So far, Obama has refused to break the myth. In response to the killing of Trayvon Martin and subsequent acquittal of George Zimmerman, his plan of action was a partnership between nonprofit organizations and corporations to provide increased mentorship for young black men called My Brother's Keeper, which has recently enlisted the star power of rapper Kendrick Lamar and NBA guard Stephen Curry. There is nothing wrong with promoting mentorship. There is something wrong with a president who told us that for years that he was not the president of black America, but all America, as if black people were not part of America. Now, putting forth his first racially specific program, and it not being any policy, but rather a space of philanthropic endeavors, it was insulting that the line with this philosophy was even stated, as if he had been elected to be mentor-in-chief, as if mentors are all black boys need to survive, as if what he really meant was mentor as a stand-in for father, as if he should save black boys by becoming their surrogate father, as if we can afford to continue believing the myth that Obama has set forth towards us. Trayvon Martin had a father, Jordan Davis had a father, Michael Brown had a father, Tamir Rice had a father. Having a father won't protect black boys from America. So, by a show of hands, I don't know if it's too personal. If it's too personal, you don't have to answer, but how many in here grew up in a household without a black father? Without a black father in the household? How many of you know someone, a black male, or even a female that grew up in a household without a black father? Wow. So my first question is, after reading this article and hearing all that, how much of by your own opinion, not what's being said on social media, television, by your own opinion and what you've experienced in the neighborhood that you grew up in, or being around a friend that you may know who lacks a black father inside the household, how damaging is it to you, if it's that much damaging at all, or is it more of a excuse or a myth to lean on when they discuss what's going on in the black community? So young people first, I really want to hear your opinion on this about black fathers not being in the household, and how much does it really affect the outcome of us growing up when we in adulthood? Come on. So how effective do you think it is for a black father not being in the household to the overall outcome of a child growing up in his teenage years, adulthood, and how he turns out ultimately? How much of an effect does it really cause? Does it really, really matter?
For me, of course, I believe it matters a lot, but it's not only just one black male role model in your life. I think it's just having multiple. For me, I always say this, like every time when we speak about black men, I was so fortunate to just have so many black male mentoring programs. You speak about My Brother's Keeper, I was part of that. 100 Black Men, they had a junior 100, I was part of that. In my school, there was another black male mentoring program, I was part of that. So I was always constantly being able to be with black men in so many fields and so many, and hear all their perspectives. I even go to a school that's all black men. So to me, like, I'm so fortunate, and it shows with who I am now and all the work I have done because of having the constant black men in my life that I could call so many people if anything happens. It's not just one call. It's not only just my dad, but it's like I got 1,000 uncles all in Harlem, all across the world that I could always call. So to me, of course, the black father is important, but sometimes he would need support, and you're going to need those uncles that can come and help you any way you can. So.
Thank you. Oosh.
I mean, I first like to start off by saying that what President Obama said was disingenuous, because first he knew all of the problems that is facing the black community, and then he said, or it quotes that he said, he's not the president of black America, but yet he wants to bring up all these issues about black America and black men not being in the House. So what he should have done is implement policies that takes us out of the prisons and puts us in corporations. What he should have done is improve education and opportunities for young black men. And also with him growing up without his biological father, he had a stepfather who was affluent, who helped him out in many situations. So to say that he grew up without a father is not quite the same. But on the question about black men being absent, black fathers being absent, yes, me personally, I believe in there has to be a family structure, but it doesn't have to be a biological parents. I ascribe to the teaching that it takes a village. So in that village, it has black men in it, black women in it, young, good kids in it. So if we have this system where, even though my father is not in the house, let's say my father's not in the house, when I go outside, there's my uncles there. There's people that I watched me grow up, hey, get inside the house. It's time for you to, and we help out our black mothers rather than saying, oh, it's the black woman that's driving away the father and things of that nature. That's where the breakdown happens. So what we should do is go back to, or define what a village is in today's society and go on from there. And while a family might not be, take away all of our problems, it certainly helps us fight the problems that we have. Because, yes, we have laws and structures in place that has been there forever, but the best remedy for that and the best solution is us coming together and finding solutions to it.
Church, so just for the record, Obama should have did more than just a mentorship program. All right. Right. All right.
Thank you, Mo. So I think the answer to your question is that we romanticize things. And when it comes to solutions, if the black man is so valuable, then we should listen to him, okay? We should have forums where we attend and listen to what's going on. I participated in the Man Up program in Brownsville, and the men that attended said that they weren't welcomed when they brought their child to school in the mornings, that the staff at the school was very rude and disrespectful to them. And that's why it comes back to systematic. See, systematically, people are nasty to the black man, even if he's the father of the child. And if you listen to the black man talk, you would get to know that. But too often, we talk about the black man and don't even have him at the table. It's supposed to be nothing about us without us. Now, regardless of what President Obama said, it was his experience. He did not have the father in the home. So we need to understand that people have varied experiences. And because of their varied experiences, they are experiencing different things in life. I have my father in my life. And when something would happen, I could always get him. Somebody do something to me in school, I come with my dad, and it's no more problem. Okay, somebody had climbed, and people that don't have it don't know. Because the mother does not give the same kind of, it just doesn't happen. Okay, a lot of women are smaller. It's just the way it is. So we gotta acknowledge that President Obama did not have his father, and it's gonna be a different experience. Somebody had climbed up at my window when I was younger, and I told my dad, hey, this kid, it was at my window, and my dad came with his rifle, and all he did was turn the window, curtain back, and we never had that problem again. My father is a military person, trained know how to shoot the gun. There's a lot of people, they're not trained to shoot guns. They don't know about military people. We got a lot of military families got their father in their life. We got a lot of men in the home. We have it. But nobody's really listening. We always want to talk, oh, the black man, the black man. Well, who's listening to the black man? Right? Most said he was brought up, and if you don't mind, you know, he said he was brought up in a foster care system. Isn't that going to be a different experience? He don't have a mother or father. And now he's still got to come, and he's still got to be a man. Well, who's teaching him? The system? The system not right. We already know the system's broken. So why we keep having these conversations and not addressing the children, the populations that need the support, right? So, okay, we said we need the support. I'm telling you, the Man Up program that I was working with, they were trying to support the fathers, trying to have breakfast in the schools. People was like, they was jealous that the fathers was in it. They saw them men, they didn't want them to be involved in the PTA. But how would you know that if you don't let the man talk? The man would tell you, oh, the staff at the school is very nasty. I came to pick up my kid. They was like, I don't see your name. Who said you could pick up the kid early? They're very nasty, but you won't know if you don't let the man talk. Let the black man talk and listen to him. Let's have a real forum where you let the black men talk. Instead of dogging him, always want to talk about pimps, always want to talk about this and that, always want to call somebody corny. Listen to the black man, all the black men, the gay black man, whatever kind of black man. Why don't you listen to him so you can hear what happened? Because I'm telling you, this guy was on the basketball court, and he said a guy came up to him when he was a kid and gave him a couple $100, told him to come to the house. And he had got raped. You hear me? On the basketball court. But nobody listens to the man's problems. Nobody listens to his pain. There's stuff going on.
Thank you. Gospel.
Good evening. A lot of problems comes from separation and respect. And what happens is they separate us by telling us stuff, and half of us believe it against each other. And when we believe it, it's called separation. Where we don't see it, they are conquering and dividing us against each other by the things they say and the thing they do, all right? And the system is helping them because, okay, can everybody in here see me? Okay, I'm in a wheelchair. And I went downtown, I had to get a birth certificate for my daughter so she can work during the summertime. They put me through hell. I had to go here, 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 and I'm in a wheelchair. And so what I did, I took my daughter with me, and we went down there. And the man came over, she said, "Mister, please, if you don't give me your birth certificate, I can't get a job for the summer." And after she said that to him, they gave her a birth certificate. But before that, they had me running to the hospital. I had to prove whether I was married or not. I had to prove whether I was the father. Now, her mother died when she was 5 years old. All right? But the system is against all men who stand up for their kids. So if we as a man come down there for our kids or to stand up for our kids, we get a different feeling. And the system is doing that. And no offense to nobody here, a lot of people that here is allowing the system to do that to us because we've fallen for what they say about us. If we don't stand up and we don't recognize and we don't see, then we'll be smothered in the system with everybody else because why? We let the system take advantage of us and we wasn't enough men to stand up to see what was going on.
Say that. Say that. Ma'am.
Y'all bear with me. Public speaking makes me a little nervous. But I wanted to have a couple of things to say. To start, I don't believe that God would have ordained a two-parent system if it wasn't vital and important in some capacity. But I want to say, as far as the article, saying or reprimanding black fathers in public in front of the nation and saying that they are the most absent and this, that, and the third is akin to the black on black crime statements that are usually made, because crime is just crime. And when a white man kills another white man, nobody is saying it's white on white crime. They're saying that a white man or someone died, right? And so statistically, there are more absent white fathers than there are black fathers. And something that was very important in the article, I don't remember exactly what it said, but it spoke about how you can't really all of these systems and all of these things that we're seeing today are a result of slavery. So fathers were being separated from their children. You know what I'm saying? The big, strong men were being sent to the big plantations to do what they were supposed to do. Those kids didn't know their dads. And the family structure in black households has been completely destroyed from the beginning. And so to completely put that responsibility on them is destructive, and it's just as bad as, killing them on the street. You know what I mean? You already took away my daddy was there, but there were things that I was missing from him. So that's, case to case basis. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everything is not the same. Every black father is not missing. And so to put that and to generalize the entire, community is very damaging. And it makes for men be like, well, I mean, why would I stay? They already said I was gonna leave. You know what I mean? You've already put that in the works for them, and so it can be a discouragement. And I just think that that's very damaging. It's a cop-out, you know what I mean? Instead of putting systems in place that will encourage black family structure, they discourage it and they scold them in public and they embarrass them. And then nothing, there's no growth from it. So, yeah, that's all.
Great point, great point.
All right, so this is kind of a real sensitive subject for me. My father, I grew up without my father in the house because when I was young, he was tragically killed, and I was present for the event. So this kind of affected me in a different way because I felt like that was my idea of a man. For a boy to be a man, he has to see a man. So me seeing my father gunned down in the street, I grew up, that was my idea of success as a man, So I kind of, as I grew up, I gravitated toward dangerous situations to put myself into a life pattern that I could have avoided had I had a different set of circumstances. I'm sorry, but yeah, I noticed the word systematic being used a lot, especially when we talk about the condition of black people overall, right? So when we talk about the black man not being in the two-parent household system, pay attention to the fact that most of these government assisted programs incentivize a one-parent household. You're eligible for more when you're a single mom. You get housing, you get food, you go through the shelter system faster, and all of these things are geared toward that to kind of reward the person that doesn't have the father there. If it was the other way, if it was another way, I guarantee the court it would be a lot easier for a man to go to court and get custody of his children if these government systems weren't geared toward that. I just feel like it's a social culture in the country as it stands itself, and I do feel like just the connection, biologically, they say, when a woman first holds her child, it's the same way for the other parent. You're gonna have a different special type of bond. So a mentor is gonna be a different connection from a mentor than it is gonna be from your father. Just from the smell of your father, the just natural pheromones and things that happen. And so yes, of course you're gonna be affected without your father in your household. And I'm not gonna act like it's gonna be anything different.
Thank you, Mike. A very deep, different perspective to look at it.
Absolutely. I share a similar story with the brother just now. My father was shot and killed May 26, 1990, on Suffolk Boulevards in Queens, and he's from Harlem, going to defend the honor of the woman that he was seeing, or have seen, which would be the mother of my older brother. And so a lot of times, men have a target on their back because they are the protectors of the family regardless of religion, background, race, creed. But now that we are specifically talking about black men, like he said, there's systems put in place to incentives to make sure that they're not in the home. I always wondered, if you could pay somebody to watch somebody else's kid, call it foster, then you could pay somebody to watch their own kid and show them how to actually utilize the economics that's already there in this space. And I don't understand why that isn't implemented or even utilized as an idea. But I would like to do this. Can we give a round of applause for the black fathers that made impact in this room, that made sure the people are here now? And I want you to raise your hand if you were born without a father, period, like some sort of immaculate conception. You know, with that being said, I think we all agree that black fathers are needed, period. You know, and needed to play their position, needed to play their role, and, you know, be the protectors and the leaders in conjunction and congruency with the woman they choose and things like that. There's not one over the other, but I do always see a slant or a slight or slanted eyes when it comes to the position and authority of black men. And I recognize it's out of hurt. Like, we've all been hurt at one point in time from one black man to another, or a black man to a black woman, or a person to person, a man to a woman. You know, so this is something that we have to really begin to categorize in our own mind as things happen, like hurt people, but healed people heal people. And so I don't have any biological children yet, but I already know my role in their life, and that's to be a healed person healing another person, because they're going to come into this world with challenges and have questions. I need to be prepared for that. I need to be ready for that. And I need to utilize my own experience and the wisdom that was given for the children that's coming. I utilize it now, cultivating the youth through Light Feet and the things that we've been able to achieve through music, arts, and culture, starting in Harlem and now over 30 plus countries in the world. And so it's possible, but it's not only possible, it's happening. And like I said, if you keep listening to liars, sooner than later, a lie is going to come out of your mouth and you're going to think it's truth. It's not true. Black men are in the community. They are standing up. They're making things happen. And they've always been there. And yes, they've been attacked. Why? Because they're the protectors. And they're the perimeter rim of the community. So if you shoot them away and you lock them away, of course people are going to think that they can't stand up, because you got boys that don't know what men look like. But now there's young boys who are transforming into men by the power of God. And I see them standing with their family. And I see a lot of them younger than me. I'm 32 years old, but I see a lot of them 25, 22, even as young as 17. They made a choice to become fathers early, but they're not giving up. They're not running away from they're just living through it. They're literally just living through it. So support the young black men, support the elder black men, support black men, period, and ask them questions. If you know you're not going to be active in their life, at least ask them activating questions. Ask them questions that will activate their reality in the present moment. Whatever it is, how are you feeling, how are you doing, or some sort of affirmation. I see you, I respect your movement. You see people coming, you see fathers coming through with their sons and daughters. It's nothing to say. Actually, it's not nothing. It's something to say, you're doing a great job. I was walking down Broadway, and mind you, I ain't got no kids yet. But I'm walking down Broadway, and this white gentleman that was jogging came by and said, "Good job, you're doing better than you think you are," and gave me a high five for no reason. And I want to acknowledge that, to understand that I would like to have that with all of my fellow humans, period. Now, you know, we got the legendary head nod, you know what I mean? Yeah, you know, but make sure, let's be in that spirit from this moment forward. Let's promise ourselves that when we see us in other forms, let's acknowledge, even if you're the one that seems awkward, like, hey, I know this might sound out of nowhere, but you're doing a great job. Like, let them ponder, what do they mean by that? If they're not, what do they mean by that? You just living life. But if we're not here to support, you're going to keep hearing stories like this, and this is not true. So respectfully, like, black men have been there. They're going to stay here. We're going to keep growing and transforming, and we just learning, you know? So there it goes.
Megan?
Hi, everybody. I wanted to throw a point in there, in here about white fathers and how I believe the biggest problem with fatherhood in America is the white fathers in our entire history that have taught their families and their wives how to hate. And that if we had a president that was criticizing the white fathers of this land and telling them to not only change their mindset, but teach their children and get their wives, who a lot of times are enablers to this hate, on board, I think the whole entire country would change. I lucked out, I had a great father, but unfortunately he enabled a mother who was filled with hate. And not only my mother, but many elders, many teachers, many friends of mine's fathers and mothers tried to teach me how to hate as well from when I couldn't even speak. So I believe that although President Obama was wonderful and I love him, there were several moments, like with Clarence Thomas, that I believed he was a tool of black oppression with a master of white supremacy. And if we could have more people in this land that were leading in a way to teach love, we might have a little more kumbaya, but unfortunately we don't have that yet. We have to deal with everything that you're speaking of that I can't speak from my own experience, but I definitely can speak from the experience of how many white elders that I have experienced for my entire life. Even people that walk in here that come to me and they think I'm gonna agree with their hate and their division just because of the color of my skin. So we need more people speaking about the white elders of this country that for the entire history, since my heritage of being British. I'm 25% British, and I have heritage of people that have come over here and have been the people that have perpetuated this hate for the entire history of our country. So if we had more people with my skin trying to educate the truths of the Tulsa Massacre, of the truths of our entire history and how this skin has done damage, it would help, and we wouldn't be talking about this. We would be solving so many problems. So although I cannot speak from my own experience about this, I definitely can experience and speak about the experience of how much hate is fueled in the white community from day one. Before we're even born, the things we hear in the womb. We know the tones of voice. We can sense it. We come out of the womb and we hear it, and it's right in front of our faces. We go to school, it's in our teachers' faces. It's in the kids amongst us. It's when we go and we play after school. We go to play soccer. We go to a recital. We hear it everywhere. It's behind closed doors. It's at the Thanksgiving table. It's in public. It's in a CVS, and we hear it, and someone's talking about someone in front of us in line. We see our elders, and they don't hold the door open for people. They say, don't date this person, don't be friends with this person, and all sorts of other things that are a whole lot worse. So the systemic nature is there, and we need more presidents, more leaders that are speaking about the hate of especially white men in this country that have, through the history of the world, not been held accountable. Ever. And the reckoning that is happening is only the beginning, but we need it to just continue of a big wave all over the world of holding white men accountable and the people that enable them to teach and perpetuate hate.
Thank you. Ms. Word?
Yeah, the article was a long article, and I got some things out of it, but this one thing I didn't hear, and I waited toward the end to even come up here. We understand that fatherhood is a choice. And we understand that there's another reality that wasn't really dealt with that I'm going to bring up, because I have been part of that experience as well, being raised by a mother who was separated from my father. And one of the main reasons for this separation was they didn't have a relationship. So that's where parenting requires a level of maturity beyond a relationship between the mother and the father. Meaning the reality that they now have to focus on the relationship with the child, which means they have to put their feelings aside if the father is dating someone else or the mother is dating someone else. Because some of what we're talking about is self-inflicted. We can't constantly blame the system. We know about that. The brother was bringing by the system of the welfare system. That no longer exists, so we can't use that anymore. The reality of it is that when two people have had sex and a child is a result of that sex, they have to now understand their priority is helping that child grow as healthy as possible. I witnessed mothers and fathers arguing in the street with the child because the father is dating somebody else or the mother's dating. That's irrelevant at a certain point. When there's a child involved, the focus has to be on that. And mothers, this is particularly for the mothers, because there's a lot of single mothers. If the father's dating someone, just handle it. Let the father see the child. That's what is really prevalent in this system now that is really being self-inflicted. There's some mothers who won't let fathers be fathers. That's a reality. That's happening out there. So this is for a lot of women who are in that situation. Let the father be a father, because it's a blessing for the child and for the mother indirectly. Because whatever problem she's having, she can't hold back and not call that father. Call the father to help raise the child. That's important.
Thank you, Ms. Word. That does play a role. Last mic.
Well, this whole situation is like touchy for me at so many points. I had my father in the house. My father had his father until he killed himself thinking that my grandmother was going to save him. And I have a son, and I would love to be in his life more. I was in his life a lot, lots of turmoil inside of that. And I noticed how his mom kind of like puts herself in a lot of situations to make it look like that, I'm not there, or she needs more help than is necessary, just to live up to all the hurt that other women have felt, because she wants to be able to say that I'm going through it and I don't have nobody, just to keep living up to that story. Like the brother said, the lies that were spoken of as truths. She wants to live according to someone else's life. And then I wonder where her trauma is coming from, and things happen to her, and I think that because her father didn't defend her at a point, she's lashing out. When I look at certain things, I don't want to hold up too much time because it's far spent with everyone else talking, but I noticed that it is differences and different points of view and different standpoints, and people look at it from different perspectives. We all need to come to the same conclusion that together we have to work together in some form or fashion to help out, because all of the youth matters. People are going to get old, and young people are going to come in, and it's going to be their turn. And if we're not there for them, teaching them right, helping them, standing unified to help them, then, it really doesn't matter. Some people are going to grow up without fathers. Some people are going to have fathers that other people make that father look bad to their own children too. And some people are going to have great fathers, and others are going to be envious of that, So it's so many different things, and we have to look at, all the different situations and see what is fitting to that situation, because you can't generalize everything into one umbrella. It just don't fit. I'm sure everybody in here got a different shoe size. And if I start telling everybody to wear my shoes, some people's feet gonna fall out, some people gonna bust them out, because everybody has a difference. So you have to look at the difference that everybody has and see what works for that situation.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, every last one of y'all. Y'all came up and really, you really showed what said is so many different, I'm trying to cram this in real quick. There's so many different with that topic, it's so many different conversations. You know, like we definitely need a Black Fathers panel. That's the only thing I was thinking about the whole time standing up here. We definitely have to have some men sit up here at a table and discuss it. It maybe have to be more than one segment because all you that came up here gave so many different points of views and how to look at that as a father, Black father, not being in the household. And, you know, one thing I think of, like, when I have these conversations and we talk like this, I always only go forward thinking about us meaning Blacks. I don't know nothing about Caucasian fatherhood, Asian, Spanish fatherhood. I don't know anything, how they communicate, how they work over there. All I know about and all I really care about is the Black household and what we going through. And I'm pretty sure if we was to take a survey, one thing I was thinking about up here, if all mothers of all races were to take a survey, I'm almost certain that the Black mothers would win if it came to the question of how often do a mother tell their son, I can't raise you to be a man. That's something that's associated with the Black mothers. Never heard a Latino, not saying that they never did, Asian or white person say, I can't raise you, I can't teach you how to be a man. I've always heard Black mothers say that. So clearly there's a need. There's a need for a Black man to be in the household. There's definitely a need. But at the same time, with situations like, okay, let's say the Black man is in the household. Let's say the father is there. With all the things that's up against him, like what I read in this article, not being able to get a good job, being turned down from any and everything, being harassed in the street, being choked out, being shot for no reason. All the things that Black father has to face while being in the household trying to raise their Black son or their Black daughter. That's why I asked the same question for the females. Because even with Black females, you know what they say about them not having a father in the household. When it comes to romance and dealing with men, there's an issue there. It's not just Black boys. There's also Black daughters as well when there's an absence in the household of a Black man. So when we have these conversations and we talk about this, we really need to come to an understanding and understand that there's no straight way and no straight antidote to deal with this. Of course, a Black father being in the household would make a difference. That's one thing we can all agree on. You know, if a Black father was there in the household of their child, son or daughter, it would make a difference. But at the same time, it still will be issues. It still will be drama. It still will be some type of animosity there. Like my father, I grew up in a foster care system in a group home. My father found where I was at in the group home. And when my father found me, first time I seen him, 6'8", I didn't know who this man was. And he had 4 girls with him, and they were my sisters. When I got to know him, I didn't even know I had sisters. So when I didn't even care, the only reason why he came around, later on, come to find out, he wanted to get custody of me so he wouldn't have to pay child support. That's the only reason why he came around. I found this out later on down the line. But I was so into having sisters so much that I didn't even care about him. I didn't care if he was a deadbeat. I got sisters. That's why I always gave him a pass. My father died about 3 months ago. And I seen a video of him laid up on the bed, withered away. This man was like, tall. I'm surprised I'm not taller. Like, this man was so tall, and he was just big, like, and I looked at him as, like, mighty. But when I seen him in the bed at hospice, just going away, like, I had so much animosity. And then when I got the call he was gone, about 2 days later, I broke down crying because I realized that my hatred and my anger, now I can never tell him what I felt, how I felt, or what could have happened or what should have happened. I'll never see him again. And now I regret that for the rest of my life. And there's people who didn't have a father at all from jump. And I at least had him in my life for a short stint, even though it was for ulterior motives. So I use that as an example because even though sometimes the father may be in the household, there still may be issues there. A father could be in the household and be addicted to work and not pay their kids no mind. Just make sure the bills are paid and he on his way. That's an issue for a child too. And it's just as detrimental to someone not having a child. Not having a father in the household. So I definitely feel like we should sit down and come together with a forum for that because that's not something that we could talk in one huddle night. So I thank everybody for coming up and offering their opinion. That was beautiful. Another lit, did you know? Thank you, Ashley.
All right, thank you. Now for our last Did You Know, I'm calling up Dominique Sharpton. Can we give her a round of applause?
Thank you. So this, did you know, I mean, this is, we can talk about this all night, but Ashley told me to make it quick. So it's about affirmative action. It's something that's been definitely on my heart for the past week. Many of you know there's been some recent changes, updates as it relates to the Supreme Court ruling around affirmative action. Many of you also know that National Action Network has been on this issue from day one. A few years ago, we actually went to Washington, D.C. to sit in on a hearing against a white woman, her name was Fisher, who basically tried to argue this against the Supreme Court and tried to sue on the basis of affirmative action and overturning, of course, that very dynamic and to us, I felt pivotal piece of legislation as it relates to education equality in this country. And Black people, of course, getting equal opportunities and resources to a quality education. Now, I won't argue that, of course, yes, our schools, of course, to me, I feel like is the route to go. HBCUs and those who, are institutions that were created for us, by us, I feel like those institutions need to be upheld, honored, and definitely supported wholeheartedly. But I also feel like it is important for us to continue to rally and advocate for equality as it relates to education, especially higher education, and as it relates to people of color having the access and opportunities to go to whatever institution we feel like, despite what color our skin is or what neighborhood we come from. So I do feel this conversation is definitely one that's debatable, one we can talk about forever. But I feel like we've made tremendous strides in terms of Black people and our rights, and having fought for those rights to be able to pull up to any university or any institution we want and say we are qualified, we're smart enough, let us in. But I also feel like we had a lot of work to do in order to get us to where Black people have rights at all. And so those rights should always be considered. Black people have, people of color are largely marginalized still to this day for many generations. And I feel like it's things like affirmative action that has helped us to really move forward and to get some of the freedoms and liberties that we've really fought hard for. With that said, there is an article that came out that talked about a collective reasoning on affirmative action and student debt, and also entrepreneuring while Black, being able to bolster your own businesses and become entrepreneurs while, of course, being Black in America. These are all things I feel like that while we're talking about and having conversations about the March on Washington and why it's important for us to go to Washington today and this day and age, and some of the issues that are affecting us even right now, as to why we should go to Washington, D.C. and stand up for our rights. I feel like these topics lead into that discussion very valuably. So think about it. If you wanted to destroy a community, that would be the way to do it. First, you would hamper the choices and opportunities of Black people's college age and them being students by limiting their access to the full range of educational resources that could benefit them. Second, if they were able to attend college, you would bury them in debt so they could not achieve the type of financial independence and prosperity that college should offer them. And finally, you would ensure that they never get a fair shot at honest competition and that their business aspirations would be crippled by a lack of investment up front and the disproportionate or undue criminalization of those few who eventually achieved commercial success. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, Black America amidst the perfect storm. The recent overturning of the use of race-conscious college admissions by the U.S. Supreme Court is sure to have a harmful effect on our community. The court's decision effectively ending affirmative action at American colleges and universities has real-world examples of its crippling effect. Number one, in the year 2006, 10 years after California's Proposition 209 banned consideration of race in the state's admissions, only 96 people of color, Black people, were admitted to a nearly 5,000-person UCLA freshman class. That was reported.
This figure that was noted by the Times Magazine had been unseen at one of California's most prestigious public universities since the early 1970s. One day after gutting affirmative action, the Supreme Court struck down the Biden administration's $400 billion plan to cancel student debt for millions of Americans. I want you to understand the correlation. So first they struck down affirmative action. Now they're striking down, of course, President Biden's plan to end and reduce student loan cancellation debt. I want y'all to understand the correlation. Student loan debt has particularly for women and black women saddled them with this absorbing amount of debt that they cannot climb over. So in addition to people of color being those who are largely affected by student loan debt, black women are those that are largely affected the most in that category as those who are suffering from student loan debt the most. 2/3 of the $1.7 trillion in student loan debt that is held in this country is held by black women. This is something that is keeping the population back. Excuse me. The recently introduced campaign, Entrepreneuring While Black, has also drawn much needed attention to yet another ill facing Black America: the systemic racial discrimination Black entrepreneurs face when trying to secure investments to launch a business, and the double standard that criminalizes their action when their white counterparts get a pass for the same conduct. So people are actually being brought on charges. They're being charged with fraud, with all kinds of crimes, black business owners. And it's been utilized, it's a derivative and a tactic that's utilized to really infiltrate black communities and black business owners, and a scare tactic to scare them from owning businesses and running and operating businesses. The problem with that is most of the wealth that's created winds up enriching elites, while the businesses funded by venture capitalists widen economic inequality. This is an issue that affects black entrepreneurs regardless of business size. Large banks approve about 60% of loans sought by white small business owners and 50% of loans sought by Latino or Hispanic small business owners, and just only 29% of those loans that are sought by black small business owners. So only 29% of people that actually apply for business loans, black people, actually get loans. And you heard what I said, black women carry the most debt in student loan debt. But we can't get the business loans. We can't get the loans to own our own businesses. I want you to understand the correlation of why we're going to Washington, D.C. on August 26th. Taken together, this perfect storm of events, the overturning of affirmative action, the retention of student loan debt, and the disproportionate criminalizing of black business leaders presents a daunting challenge to our community at a time when we need it the least. Sorry, y'all, I'm getting a little tied up here. Okay. So overall, with that said, the student loan issue, the issue of criminalizing black-owned business, black business leaders, of course, and the fact that affirmative action and laws around affirmative action being overturned. These cumulative ways are reducing opportunities and reducing and limiting resources and other things and avenues for black people to succeed, and to get a quality education. Also, the challenge to our HBCUs, they're being underfunded, they're being challenged, many of them, in jeopardy of closing down. These are all tactics that are, being utilized to hinder black people from moving ahead, from striving ahead, and from getting quality education. So I just wanted to let y'all know and give y'all a sense of kind of what's happening from a broader scope of things, so that when we're pinpointing and we're having these conversations as to why it's important for us to go to Washington, D.C. and stand up for our rights, these kind of conversations can be had, and you can pinpoint actual issues and what's happening around certain issues to help to really galvanize us and mobilize us around what we need to do to really, really push forward. So with that said, I don't know if anybody has anything to say about affirmative action. I, for one, I'm 35 years old, so I really wasn't
I guess, around when, when this talk of education equality and all of that started happening, when, the desegregation of schools happened. But I do know that there are some people in the room that probably can speak to that experience. I do know that, there are some people here that are a little more seasoned that can maybe speak to the experience. I don't know if you've ever had to deal with desegregation of schools, or your parents, or or have any personal stories about that. But I do know that we as a movement, and actually in the spirit of Dr. King's movement, have really fought to, to really keep affirmative action in place. And we know that we have all benefited, I feel, from laws passed like affirmative action that has helped Black people to really move forward and to progress as we need. You have a comment?
For me, I basically have everything, father, things like that, until he passed away. Different story, completely at a perfect time in retrospect. But honestly, all I wanted to say was that in life, there's you have one choice and other people have another. If you don't agree with that choice, that's fine, give them the job, that's it. If you don't like them, keep it on a personal note. But be practical. Not in the sense of, oh, if you deserve it, you get it, even if you're the worst possible candidate for it. That's understandable, but that's probably just the mindset that's in, And the thing is, we need to further ourselves, not on a race thing or anything. We just need to further ourselves in general, because the second we start centralizing it, the more it starts to just become a problem. And honestly, I'm getting sidetracked. I'm sorry about that.
I just want to sing a little bit of Bob Marley's song. Revelation reveals the truth. Revelation. Ooh. Revolution. It takes a revolution to make a solution. Too much confusion. So much frustration. I don't want to live in the park. Can't trust no shadows after dark. So, my friend, I wish that you could see, like a bird in a tree, the prisoners must be free. Never make a politician give you a favor. They will always want to control you forever. So if the fire make it burn, and if the blood make it run, I'm going to stop right there. Thank you. Thank you, Damo.
First, when it comes to affirmative action, it's of course affecting our schools. When it first dropped, I feel like a lot of people were saying, "Oh, just go to HBCUs, go to HBCUs." And of course, anybody that knows me knows I'm the first advocate of pushing for that. But at the end of the day, I don't want just HBCUs to be the only options for many Black and brown students. I have countless friends that go to PWIs and do amazing stuff. And so at the end of the day, if you're qualified, and many of us are, we should have the same chances of getting into these institutions as everyone else. And then I also want to say that this is just a gateway to everything else now. Affirmative action, of course, they first started with the schools, but then it's going to go, like we were already saying, with job offers, with getting grants, with getting loans, we're getting so many other things, and then we have to realize that this is just the start. So, of course, first, I'm calling out my HBCU community to not just keep saying, oh, because of this, go to a HBCU. You should go to a HBCU because you want to go there and you fall in love with that institution the same way I have. That shouldn't be the only choice. It is a great choice. The second part is with the student loan debt. Of course, Biden was pushing for that. He promised us that, and he worked hard. Now it's about looking at the courts and seeing what we can do moving forward. Of course, August 26th is what we're pushing for. There is something else in the works. Can't speak about now, but we are working on it. So just stay focused on that. And if you're any youth organization in the community in New York or across the country, please email us at youth@nationalactionnetwork.net. We're already working on things, of course, but we would love to hear your ideas and see how else we can mobilize and come together to see what we can do. So that's my spiel.
Thank you so much.
I have a short comment related to this is why we need HBCU's conversation when it comes to affirmative action, because all of these recent Supreme Court rulings are all connected, like the student loan debt thing, the affirmative action stuff. When I was applying to college, a lot of my friends wanted to go to HBCUs but weren't able to because we are underfunded institutions, especially our less talked about HBCUs, not just the Howard, Morehouse, Spelman, Hampton, like what they call the top schools. Like there are hundreds, over 100 HBCUs, and we only talk about a select few. And so even the students who do want to go to HBCUs, my friends who wanted to but weren't able to, were able to go to other PWIs and get an education, period, because of programs like HEOP, Higher Education Opportunity Program, or POSSE, things that are for people of color from underserved communities. And even if they can't go to a school where they're surrounded by all people who look like them, they apply to schools through opportunities that allow them to be surrounded in like smaller communities with people who look like them. So I don't know, I feel like I don't know that I have a solution, but all of them are connected in some way, shape, or form. And so I guess it just highlights how much more we need to really just advocate for education for people generally, for our communities generally, but also maybe having some sort of programs or institutions in place for students when they're in middle school and high school to expose them to the options available to them, especially in an era where they're not able to apply to things because of the color of their skin. So.
Very well said. Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing. All right, I know the hour is late, but there are no more comments. I'm going to turn it back over to our host, Felivi.
All right. Take us home.
I'm about to sing no song, but I want to make this real quick, and I want to tell you all, you need to get in touch with, especially the 1619 Project. You need to find out what's going on. Tonight, up in the Bronx, I'm just now getting here because they were fighting and stabbing up in Gun Hill Road and the White Plains Road, and the police never showed up. I was getting on the bus, and they started fighting. I took my cane, hit a couple people, got off the bus, and got a cab and got here. What I heard on WBAI tonight was the domino. And what they were talking about was the domino was the fact that the Spanish, the Italians, everybody had, and the edict came down from the Pope, that everybody, they were to go forage into Africa, take people hostage, and make them slaves. That was done in 1410, 1493, 1590, and y'all need to look it up.
All right. Oh man, it was about to be crazy up in here if that was a current event. Yeah, it's been a long night. But to finish up, if there's anything we've realized is that the importance of August 26th and how we need to mobilize even more and more and more. And especially for the Youth and College Department, I'm going to iterate it again. If there's any youth organizations, there's anybody that would love to organize, get young people, we have buses, we have ways for you to get down there. Please email us at youth@nationalactionnetwork.net. Say it again, email us at youth@nationalactionnetwork.net. Patrice, would you like to close us out in prayer? Thank you. Give her a round of applause, y'all.
Thank you. All hearts and minds are clear. We close out, meaning there should be no movement. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world,
against spiritual wickedness in high places. Let us pray. Most gracious and wise God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this space. We thank you for every young person that came through this door at National Action Network. And we pray that as they exit out, that they would not leave the same. God, we ask you to touch them. We ask you to touch their families, touch their homes, whatever they're experiencing, God. Know that they can talk to you at any given moment, or they can come to the National Action Network and talk to one of the leaders here. We ask you to continue to cover our founder and president, Reverend Dr. Al Sharpton, our founder of Huddle, Ashley Sharpton, Dominique Sharpton, co-chair. We ask you to continue to bless the culinary staff here, God, that makes sure that everyone is fed every Monday night. We ask you to bless the hands that prepare the food. We ask you to watch over us in these crazy streets, for we know that you are our protector. And all of your children said, amen.
All right, everyone, make sure you go to the back and let's go eat.